The hypocrite. Let's be honest, Cristiano Ronaldo has spent 2 decades rewriting the rules of greatness, mostly his own. Early in his career, he said the Ballon d'Or was his destiny. Every speech, goal celebration, every icy stare down the camera screamed one thing: I want more than anyone else. But when Messi started collecting those golden orbs like Pokemon cards, suddenly the award lost credibility. The same trophy he once called football's highest honor became a meaningless trinket the moment it left his shelf. Then came the World Cup. Ronaldo wanted it bad, told reporters it was the one thing missing from his legacy. Until 2022. Messi lifted it, the world exploded, and Ronaldo's tone flipped. Now, a true player shouldn't be judged by 7 or 8 games. Right, 7 games, unless he's the one playing them. And this pattern isn't new. At Real Madrid, he said loyalty meant everything until Juventus offered him a new chapter to prove himself again. At Juventus, it was about building something different. At Manchester United, returning home. And when home didn't worship like it used to, he burned the house down on national TV. The thing is, Ronaldo doesn't lie, he adapts. Whatever fits the current headline becomes truth. When he's on top, it's proof of destiny. When he's not, destiny's broken. But is that how it should be? The perfectionist. Ronaldo treats football like a science experiment where he's both the lab rat and the professor. Every gram of food, drop of sweat, every hour of sleep is measured, timed, and logged. His teammates grab burgers after training. He grabs a salad that looks like it came out of a medical study. While others recover with Netflix, Ronaldo recovers with cryo chambers, custom oxygen tents, and probably a playlist of his own goals. He's built a career out of treating failure like contamination. Miss a shot in training? Run it again. Miss another? Run it faster. That obsession has carried him from Madeira's cracked concrete pitches to the most clinical stadiums on earth. Even his social life runs on perfection settings. 0 alcohol, 0 distractions, 0 tolerance for laziness. At Manchester United, younger players used to sneak desserts at the buffet until Ronaldo walked in. Suddenly, the brownies disappeared like they'd never existed. His example was terrifying. And the irony, perfection is the one opponent he'll never defeat. Every year he tweaks something. The diet, the haircut, the training drill, still chasing that impossible version of himself from 2013. But that's the paradox that keeps him alive in football's toughest era. The ego messiah. Every club he joins, he talks like a man on a mission. When he rejoined Manchester United, it wasn't a signing, it was a second coming. The prodigal son returning to restore order, score goals, and maybe part the Premier League defenses while he's at it. His interviews sound like sermons. He speaks of destiny, legacy, higher purpose. He once said he wanted to teach Saudi Arabia how to play real football, and you know what? He meant it. This is the same guy who said he opened the door for everyone to move to Saudi, and in a way, he did. Benzema followed, Neymar followed. Half the European football scene suddenly saw sand dunes as opportunity. Ronaldo turned a controversial decision into a trend because he always makes himself the center of gravity. The control freak. Undeniably, Ronaldo likes things his way. Always has. At Manchester United, Erik ten Hag tried to bench him, and Ronaldo walked straight down the tunnel before the game was even over. No shouting, no scenes, just a walk that said, "I'm done here." Days later, his time at United was finished. The same story followed him in Italy. When Maurizio Sarri subbed him off during a league game, Ronaldo left the stadium before the final whistle cameras caught it. The headlines ran for days, and Sarri looked like a man who had just unplugged a live wire. This need for control goes back years. At Real Madrid, everyone knew who took the free kicks. It didn't matter who else was standing over the ball. Ronaldo's stance meant everyone was moving out of the way. Even for Portugal, that instinct shows up. When he got injured in the Euro 2016 final, he couldn't sit quietly on the bench. He stood on the sideline giving orders next to the coach, waving his arms, barking instructions, completely lost in the game. He likes to be in charge because control makes him feel safe. It's what keeps him sharp, focused, and relevant. The family man. Beneath the fame, cameras, and muscle symmetry, Cristiano Ronaldo is deeply rooted in family. For all the years he's lived under global scrutiny, his most consistent bond has been the one with his mother, Maria Dolores. She was there from his first steps in Madeira's narrow streets to the moment he lifted the European Championship trophy. He's said multiple times that every win belongs to her, the woman who worked as a cook and cleaner just to keep food on the table. His father, Jose Diniz Aveiro, struggled with alcoholism and passed away when Ronaldo was still young, something that shaped him in silence. That loss made him overprotective of those close to him, particularly his children. He built his entire life to make sure they never go through what he did. Even with the constant travel, brand deals, and pressure, he finds time for what he calls his real team. He's often seen picking up his kids from training or celebrating birthdays away from football noise. His partner, Georgina Rodriguez, calls him a man obsessed with being a good father. Their home life might look cinematic, but it's grounded in structure, just like everything else in his world. He's known to call his eldest son his best friend. The boy trains under his supervision, eats the same meals, and mirrors his discipline. Ronaldo once said he hopes his children inherit not his fame, but his drive. For a man defined by ambition, that's the purest thing he's ever passed on. But in the world of football, he lives a different life. The isolationist. Interestingly, did you know that Ronaldo has spent most of his life surrounded by crowds, but very few people ever seem close? Fame built him a stadium, not a circle. The obsession with standards and control has slowly turned him into a man who operates on his own island. At Real Madrid, teammates admired him, but they also kept their distance. Over time, success made the gap wider. At Juventus, he was the superstar everyone wanted to follow, but nobody really connected with. Young players described him as focused and professional, which usually means he doesn't talk much. The club tried to build chemistry, but Ronaldo's routine existed in a separate time zone. Private gym sessions, private meals, private world. The pattern repeated itself at Manchester United. The younger squad looked up to him, yet struggled to approach him. When results dipped, the distance grew. He trained harder, spoke less, and seemed more frustrated with the noise around him. Even with Portugal, where he's a national hero, the bond started to strain when he was left on the bench in Qatar. The reaction on his face said everything: shock, confusion, and a quiet kind of heartbreak. Isolation has become the cost of greatness. The higher he climbed, the thinner the air around him became. Every goal, headline, and every record added another layer of separation. It's lonely at the top, and for Cristiano, that might be the only place he's ever felt truly at home. The comparer. Have you ever noticed that every goal, record, or press conference somehow circles back to the same question? What about Messi? Even when he's silent, the comparison never stops. It's the longest rivalry in football history, and it lives rent-free in both their legacies. In 2019, Ronaldo said, "I don't compete with other players, I compete with myself." Yet every milestone he celebrates somehow lands next to Messi's number. When Messi wins, Ronaldo's fans dig up stats they're jewel-shaped modern football, two athletes pushing each other to godlike levels. But for Ronaldo, it's more personal. You can hear it in interviews, feel it in his tone. Every question about Messi feels like a challenge to his existence. At Real Madrid, his every step was measured against Barcelona's number 10. One week it was free kicks, the next it was hat-tricks, then Ballon d'Ors, then World Cups. Even years later, in Saudi Arabia, he's still asked about it. He laughs, changes the subject, and somehow brings it back to records don't lie. The narcissist. Now you thought Zlatan is a narcissist? Well, you don't know Ronaldo. Cristiano Ronaldo treats the world like a stage that never closes. Every goal, press conference, every Instagram post keeps the spotlight where it belongs. On him, he's the most followed human on the planet, and his page looks like a museum of himself. There's the yacht, the watch, the sculpted abs, the gym selfies, the awards, all perfectly lit, all perfectly arranged. The man has turned daily life into a highlight reel. He once said, "I see myself as the best footballer in history. Not top 5, not one of the greats, the best." That sentence sums up how Ronaldo sees the game. As a personal kingdom, even his celebration became a brand. It's now a global signature, a sound tied to his name more than any anthem or club song. The brand emperor. Ronaldo turned himself into more than a player. He became an industry. CR7 is now printed across hotels, perfumes, gyms, underwear lines, and social media timelines. His name operates like a multinational company with stadium lighting. He understood early that football has an expiration date, but a brand can outlive a career. While other players were buying luxury cars, Ronaldo was building an empire. He turned goals into assets, trophies into slogans, and interviews into commercials. The discipline that shaped his physique built a business machine that never switches off. On Instagram, he stands as the most followed human on the planet, a walking advertising space that charges more per post than some clubs earn per match. When he moved to Saudi Arabia, it was global expansion, new market, new audience, new narrative. Even the league's exposure skyrocketed after his arrival. He has created a version of himself that can't age, can't fade, can't lose, and that's the reality of the matter. If you enjoyed watching this video, you will surely love this one.